Welcome back, everybody. My name is Trini, and I am the Batquad. This is the channel where I go through my personal DVD collection from A through Z. Now, I am a quadriplegic, so keeping with the theme of four, I'm going to choose 4 movies per episode, give them a 1 through 4 wheelchair rating, and at the end of the video, I'm going to have them battle out to see which one I like from least to best. So continuing on with Season A, we have a beauty, a psycho, a white supremacist, and some horny teens. All right, we're kicking off this episode with American Beauty. American Beauty stars Kevin Spacey, and he plays this dude named Lester. And he's a father, he's married, he has a job, but none of it's working out for him. He's just found himself in this position where his wife hates him, his daughter hates him, he hates his job, and really he's just hating life. Everything's going so downward for him that at one point he winds up going to his daughter's um, cheerleading competition, and there is when he sees his daughter's best friend, played by Mina Savari. And as soon as he sees her on the screen, it's funny. He goes into this thing where I don't know. He's like so enamored by her, and he starts immediately fantasizing about her. And so once that happens, something inside him kind of changes. So because of this infatuation with his daughter's best friend, I mean, his life changes. He starts working out. He starts smoking pot. He starts, I don't know, taking back his life, even with his job and with his wife. He just starts taking the power back. He winds up sort of blackmailing his job so that he quits, but they give him some sort of severance pay. And with his wife, I mean, she's always been so controlling, and he starts kind of pushing back and trying to gain or regain some of that control back into his life. So ultimately, when everything's coming together for this guy, and I don't know if you've seen this movie or not, but spoilers. In the beginning of the movie, there's a voiceover that pretty much tells you that he's going to die, and you get to the point of the movie towards the end where it actually happens, and there's like a little bit of a mystery as to who killed him. And ultimately, at the end, they show you who did it and how it happened, and I mean, by the end of the movie, it's like you just kind of feel sorry for this guy. He had this opportunity to live a great life, and he screwed up at some point, and now he's dead, and he can't do anything about it. And the last thing that he remembers, or the last thing that the voiceover talks about, is that his true love was his daughter. So this movie came out in 1999, and it was starred, like I said, Kevin Spacey, had Annette Bening, Thora Birch was his daughter, Mina Savari as the daughter's best friend that he's the one he's all into, and even an early role for Wes Bentley. And honestly, when I went to the movie theater for it, I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was funny. I just remember thinking, I didn't want to be that guy where you made all these decisions and here you are in the middle of your life and thinking, ooh, I shouldn't have done this. I should have zigged when I should have zagged. And I don't know. I just remember feeling sorry for the guy. And I thought it was funny that he was all into his daughter's best friend. It won several Academy Awards for Best Director, Best Writer, Best Actor for Kevin Spacey. I mean, it was a huge hit at the box office. But I don't know, fast forward 20 plus years later, and I mean, you guys can look up Kevin Spacey and what's happened to him in the last couple of years, and it puts a different kind of light on the movie with this guy. Uh, I don't know, fantasizing about a younger person, and it I don't know, it just kind of tainted the movie for me. I mean, say what you will about it, but yes, it was entertaining then, but watching it now, it was just kind of weird. I think the themes of the movie still hold up. Having a family and trying to keep it together, whether it be friends or family or work or whatever the case may be. I mean, trying to keep things together to have a life and to have fun in life and to struggle in life. I mean, there's all these things in this movie that just spirals out of control for this guy, and I think that's for most people. I mean, you're always trying to keep things together and make sure that people are happy and that things work out well. And sometimes things are just spiral out of control. I mean, look at me. I'm in a chair now. I'm a quadriplegic, and I didn't plan for this, but you just kind of you take the hits and you keep on rolling. Uh, No pun intended, I promise. But you keep on rolling with the punches. So on this review, I mean, I still enjoyed the movie. Put Oh, excuse me.
That's more than the flavors.
So after this review, I still enjoyed the movie. I mean, there are parts of it that are just very questionable, um, but otherwise the acting was good. The humor is good. I think the themes of family still hold up, and especially if you've never seen the movie. And I know it's kind of spoiled here, but the surprise ending of who actually killed Lester, it should still surprise you. So if I have to give American Beauty a score, I'd probably give it a maybe a 2.5 out of 4 wheelchairs. All right, and for our second movie, we're talking about American History X. So American History X stars Edward Norton and Edward Furlong as brothers. Edward Norton, his name's Derek in the movie, and he plays a white supremacist. He's very charismatic. He's like a second in command to another white supremacist leader played by Stacy Keach. And the movie takes place in two different time zones, or not time zones, two different. The movie takes place in two different time zones. I said zones. So the movie takes place in present time, 1998, and it also flashes back to when Derek was in charge of the white supremacist group, and then when he also commits a murder and then goes into prison. So there's two different times that are going on during this movie, where Derek is reflecting on his past and showing what had happened before. Where in the present time, he's trying to get his brother Danny to not follow in his own footsteps and make the same mistakes that he did. American History X, I mean, it's one of those movies where I don't remember seeing it in the movie theater, but I do remember getting it on DVD, and I watched it and I thought it was very profound. I mean, all the things that they talked about with the different race relations and immigration and just the general hatred that goes on in different our country and different countries just all around the world. And it's funny because watching this movie now, I mean, here it is 26 years later after it's been released, and a lot of those themes and a lot of those things are still prevalent today, which is pretty sad. But I keep hoping that things will get better. So one of my favorite scenes of the movie is when they're having a family dinner, and the mom has her new boyfriend over. He happens to be one of the teachers or the principal at the local high school, and he happens to be Jewish. And they're having dinner, and they're being pleasant with each other, and the conversation starts to go towards politics or something political, and you could see the tension that just keeps building. The directing, the acting, the music, everything starts coming together at this scene where Derek is just being pleasant with this guy, basically just because his mom's there and he doesn't want to do anything that might upset her. But there's this boiling point where eventually the principal guy says something wrong, and Derek just explodes. He stands up and he rips off his shirt, and he has a swastika on his chest, and he's just bearing his true self, or his true feelings, at whatever it was that he was hiding during the dinner. And it just gets so chaotic. And I mean, it's just a masterclass in acting as far as that dinner scene goes. There's this underlying tension through almost every scene, and this is one of the scenes where it just explodes all at once. I mean, it's great acting. It just keep me on the edge of my seat. As much of the great acting I'm talking about that Ed Norton displayed in through this movie, there's this one scene in the movie that really takes me out of it, though. Unfortunately, near the end, something very tragic happens, and Derek, or Ed Norton, his character's holding someone who has just passed. And it's funny because I don't know what it is, but he's supposed to be crying and he's supposed to be devastated, but it's something in the look of his face. I don't know if that's the way he actually cries or not. I don't know, but he's doing the crocodile tears. Nothing coming out of his eyes, no waterworks, and it almost looks like he's holding back laughter. It was really weird because he had done so well through most of the movie, and then we get to this crucial scene, and I think he dropped the ball on it. They do a quick little insert showing a tear coming out of his eye because obviously it wasn't happening while he was in the scene, and they do this quick shot of his eyeball and a little tear coming out, and I don't know, it should have been one of those scenes that where I should have been crying there with him, but for whatever reason, it kind of just took me out of the movie. But otherwise, I mean, the movie's great. I mean, I loved it. I've watched it many times. There's a lot of messages in this movie that we should all pay attention to, and ultimately, I haven't seen it in a while. After this review, it still really holds up, except for the before mentioned scene. So if I have to give American History X a rating, I'm going to give it a good solid 3 out of 4 wheelchairs. And for our next movie on this latest episode, it's going to be American Pie. American Pie came out in the summer of 1999, and I was about 24 years old when I saw it. And this movie, it was part of it actually kickstarted a whole raunchy teen sex comedy that had been missing for at least 20 years. Because in the 80s they had your Animal House and Revenge of the Nerds and movies like that where you had kind of teens and sex and raunchy comedy. And for a while there, at least through the 90s, it was missing. And with when Scream came out in '95, suddenly it was cool to have teen horror movies again. And then the year before, Something About Mary came out in the summer of '98, and that kind of brought back the raunchy sex adult comedy. And so by this year, American Pie came out, and it was hilarious, man. I love that movie. I remember going to the movies to go see it. I thought it was hilarious at the time. All the actors and actresses were a bunch of unknowns. You had Jason Biggs and Eugene Levy and Tara Reid and Allison Hannigan, Sean William Scott, Shannon Elizabeth. I mean, all these people. This was the movie that kind of launched most of their careers, and I just remember watching the movie and and thinking it was. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Now, this movie is the definition of an ensemble cast. There are so many actors and actresses that are doing their thing in this movie. But I mean, if you had to pick a lead actor, the lead actor would be Jason Biggs. And honestly, this movie, the biggest laughs for me comes from this guy, and especially with his pairing with his dad in the movie, Eugene Levy. The two of them together is just comedy gold. Just see how awkward they are talking about sex with each other, and the dad's trying to help out so much, and Jason Biggs' character, he's so uncomfortable during their interactions. I mean, it's one of the funniest parts of the movie, and it happens in multiple stages throughout from the opening movie to the closing credits. Their relationship throughout the whole movie, it's just funny to me. It's hilarious. The thing about this movie is watching it on this latest review is it's so 90s. I remember seeing it when it came out, and you think nothing of the time period, but man, between the music and the clothes and the way they talked and everything else, it just brought me back to that time period of my life, just late 90s, early 2000s. And I mean, the movie still held up. I thought the characters were great. I mean, the interactions between all the characters. I mean, this movie it brought. I had never heard the term MILF, but this is the one where I first heard it, and that just became a thing to say. I mean, everybody knows what a MILF is, and well, I mean, I'm assuming everybody does. And if you don't know, I mean, just look it up. One of my favorite scenes is when Jim and the Shannon Elizabeth character, she plays a foreign exchange student, and she has a crush on Jim, and she kind of invites herself over to his room. Well, wait a minute, I didn't even explain the plot of this movie. Anyway, the plot of this movie, for those of you that don't know, American Pie is about a group of guys. I think it's like 4 or 5 guys, and they're best friends, and they're all virgins, and they make a bet that they are going to lose their virginity before prom night. And the movie basically follows them as they're trying to all lose their virginity in different ways. And to bring it back, so the Shannon Elizabeth character invites herself over. She invites herself over to his house. He tells his friends like, "Hey, she's coming over." All these dudes know. They're like, "Oh, she's gonna have sex with you. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen." And then one of them comes up with the idea of, "Hey, why don't you put it on the internet? Like, get the little camera, and send it to send the video to to the friend's house so that they can watch. And Jason Biggs, he's like, oh, yeah, I think his name's Jim. So Jim's like, yeah, it sounds great. Well, this big dummy, and this is like the beginning of the internet and webcams and everything else. Well, he sets it up, but instead of just sending it to his friend's house, he winds up sending it to the school. And so Shannon Elizabeth comes over. She starts getting undressed. She starts telling Jim, like, hey, can you dance sexy for me? And they put on this goofy music, and it's like this, I don't know, like this club boop, 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 boop music. And he starts dancing, and he thinks that he covers the camera, and but the shirt falls off. Everybody can see him dancing like an idiot. He's so turned on by her that he actually comes. Can I say that on YouTube? Anyway, he actually comes like immediately, and and everybody that's watching this, like all his classmates and everything, they all start going, "Oh no, already!" And so he convinces Shannon Elizabeth. He's like, "Hey, I can do this again. Don't worry." She's like, "Oh, okay." So they try to get into it again, and all he does is touch her, and then he comes again. And everybody on the video on the other side that are watching, they're just like, "Oh, he came again," and they're laughing at him. And poor Jim. So anyway, the scene is over. It was so funny. And then the very next scene, he shows up to school, and everybody's giving him the sign like two, like he came twice or something. Anyways, I thought it was funny. It was one of the best scenes of the movie, and I know it's probably not the most PC things nowadays, but it was funny then. I still found it funny now, and sorry. So American Pie. If I had to give this movie a score, I just thought it was so charming and so funny back in the day when I first saw it. And it's been a while since I've seen it. And after this review, I mean, I still laughed. I still enjoyed myself through most of it. I loved the I just loved the way the characters got along with each other and all their different ways of trying to lose their virginity. And I just thought it was fun. It really took me back in time to that time when I was watching it, and I was still kind of young. I mean, most of the actors were playing teenagers, but they were in their early 20s, so I could totally relate to them. And looking back now, I mean, I know looking back now at what? Shit, I don't know what I was saying. So if it comes down to it, American Pie, I enjoyed it. I loved the movie then. I thought it was hilarious then. Watching this review, I still think it's hilarious. All the comedy bits still hit with me. And if I had to give it a rating, I think I'd give it a solid 3 out of 4 wheelchairs. And for our final movie for this episode, and finally we get to a horror title. We've got American Psycho. So American Psycho came out in April of 2000. I remember going to the movie theater to see it, but I don't remember who I went with. American Psycho, even though it was filmed in late 90s, early 2000s, but it actually takes place in the 80s during that greed period. And it follows this guy named Patrick Bateman, played by Christian Bale. And the dude, just like the title implies, he's a psychotic. And what he does is he's part of kind of like he's just a businessman. It's almost unknown what he does. Maybe he's in finance or whatever. It's not really explained, but apparently his dad is one of the owners of this business, and he just has an office, has a secretary, but really does nothing all day long. And he just kind of tries to blend in with society. And most of the movies, there's a voiceover, so you can actually hear his inner thoughts, and you get to really see and hear just how crazy this dude is. So with Christian Bale, there are other actors that are with him in this movie. There's William Dafoe, Jared Leto, and Reese Witherspoon. They play minor parts in it, but really this whole movie is on Christian Bale's shoulders. And he does a bang up job as this guy. This dude, Patrick Bateman, I mean, he's only been in one movie, and as far as slasher movie goes or horror movie goes, I mean, he's not a Jason or Freddy or anything like that, but he's definitely up there as far as a slasher type movie. One of the things I like about this movie is really by the end of the movie, you really don't know whether he was actually doing the murders or was it all in his head. I mean, it's kind of left ambiguous, and it's really up to you to figure out whether you want him to have been the murderer all along, Or would you rather think that this guy just thought about these things and didn't actually go through with them? I mean, it goes either way. Either way, I've seen the movie multiple times, and I'm a big fan, and I'm not really sure whether he actually did the killing or not. It's just an amazing movie, especially if you like horror movies and if you like slashers and you like the psychological thrillers. I mean, this is a really good one. When it comes to favorite scenes, there's so many great ones. I mean, he has so many great one-liners throughout the movie, and his character. I mean, he's definitely a psychotic, but man, some of the things that he says throughout the movie is just it's just funny. One of the things that he says is, "I've got to return some videotapes." Whenever things get a little too, I don't know, hectic around him, and he needs to get out of a situation, like if he's in an uncomfortable conversation or something, he'll just kind of flip out and he'll just say, "I have to return some videotapes," and he'll leave and he'll walk out of the scene. I mean, this dude, it's just funny. One of my favorite scenes is when he's thinking about killing one of the characters, which is played by Jared Leto. They go out drinking, and he does this plan where he's going to get this guy drunk, bring him up to an apartment, and then he's going to kill him. Well, what happens is Jared Leto's character, he's drunk, he's on the couch, and Christian Bale, he winds up putting on some Huey Lewis and the News music, and as he's playing this music, he's talking about Huey Lewis, the group and the song, and he's just saying, "Hey, have you ever heard Huey Lewis? Oh, Hip to Be Square. This is one of the best songs from them." Anyway, he's doing this thing, and he starts moonwalking behind him, all while Jared Leto doesn't know what he's up to. He puts on this raincoat, and it's see-through, and he gets his axe out, and it's a chrome-plated axe, and finally gets to the point where he hits him with the axe. Watching the guy go from talking about Huey Lewis in the News to chopping this guy up and start screaming at him, talking about how much he hates him, and blood goes everywhere. I mean, it's just how much this guy's just completely unhinged. And like I said, you don't know whether it's in his mind or did he actually do it? Because at the end of the movie, that doesn't really explain one way or the other. I mean, you're seeing it on camera that it's actually happening, but you just never know. So I could go on and on about scenes that I like about this movie. I mean, the part where he's running around naked with a chainsaw that's also chrome plated. I like all the acting between him and William Dafoe. William Dafoe plays a detective character, and their banter between each other, because we're not really sure whether William Dafoe knows that he's involved or thinks he's involved. It's just very ambiguous. Just watching Christian Bale just kind of unsure whether he's being accused or he's not being accused. I mean, it's great between these two great actors just kind of going at it. And of course, the end of the movie when things just start going crazy, and he starts murdering people left and right, and he winds up getting a gun and he starts shooting things, but things start exploding, and he even looks at the gun thinking, "Man, this gun just made that explode." It's just all lends to the fact that maybe this stuff isn't really happening, it's just going on in his mind, but we just really never know. So this movie, it's fun to watch. Like I said, since it's come out, I've seen it at least once a year. It's one of my favorite movies. So if I have to give American Psycho a rating, I mean, it's almost unfair. I am a horror guy. This was a great movie. Christian Bale was great in it. He's better here. I mean, I know he played Batman, but that has nothing to do with my rating today. Because honestly, I don't even think he was that great. He was a great Bruce Wayne, but I don't know about his Batman. But if I'm giving it a score today, I have to give it 4 wheelchairs.
If you're only giving American History X3 and you're giving that 4, it better be way better.
Oh, it's so much better. All right, so here's a part of the video where these movies get to battle out and see which one I like from least to best. Although, I mean, I kind of gave it away already with American Psycho being my only 4 wheelchair movie out of these 4 movies, and so it's a little unfair. I'm gonna start from the top and go all the way down. So of course, without saying, we're gonna go with American Psycho being my number one. I mean, I've enjoyed this movie since it came out. It's one of my favorites, one of my favorite horror movies, and of course, that's going to be my number one. Ooh, so what's going to be number two? Um, it's a little difficult because American History X. I mean, it's a great movie. It's so well acted. There's so many things and themes that are in that movie that just resonate all the way down to today. But I mean, it's so serious. It's a drama. I mean, it is what it is. American Pie. I mean, it's a raunchy comedy, teen comedy that it was funny then. It's funny now. I still enjoyed it. It did sag a little bit in the middle for me. There was a part where I started to lose a little bit of interest, but then at the end, it kind of brought it back, and it was cute. It was funny. I enjoyed it. But if I had to pick a number two, and I gave them both a 3 score, I think I'm gonna go with American History X as my. Oh, hold on. American History X is my number two, and that would obviously make my American Pie number three. But I mean, they're pretty close. I mean, it's hard to compare a full blown comedy with a full blown drama, and which unfortunately that leaves the American Beauty at the bottom of my number four. I mean, it's a five. It says it right here. 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. And the problem with me is it's just it's it's a good movie. It's well acted, but man, some of the themes are just a little bit problematic. It was a little bit hard to watch because of Kevin Spacey. It's unfortunate that an actor's personal life or alleged things that happen can affect the way you watch a movie. But with the themes of this movie and with what was alleged with him, it was a little too close, and so that kind of soured the movie for me. Even though it's well acted and it's an enjoyable movie, but it just kind of changed things for me. So that's why it's in my number four position. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of the video. And by the way, in case you forgot, all these movies, I'm giving them away. I don't have room for them, so all you have to do is send me a comment, tell me which movie you want, and you'll get this movie for the low, low price of like and subscribe. That's all I'm asking. So if you like this, like it, subscribe, and I'll send you a movie. Okay. So to wrap things up, my name is Trini. I am the Batquad, and I am Men to Watch.